All right, we got Brad with us from Five Times August, who has just it's been out for a little bit, but the whole album's now out. You have a single called Silent
Mhm.
War, but now the whole album, right? Brad is
Yeah.
available for
Mhm.
people. Okay, just wanted to give you a plug first before we get into the first topic of today.
Mhm.
Silent War, again, you played the song at the Lincoln Memorial for one of the Defeat the Mandates
Mhm.
rallies. What was that like? Just curious.
That was incredible. That was awesome. That was like one of the coolest things I've ever done. And it's something that I never probably wouldn't have ever done in my life had I not gone down this route with my music. But to be standing there and look out at people and to have a moment in time, that was the first time in my 20-year career where I was like, I better make this something, to remember. This is a historical moment. So it was really important to me, and the feedback was tremendous. But that whole day was a really beautiful day, and it just really goes to show you where the actual tone of the country is when we all get together for these kind of events, because the media will slam them and say it was a bunch of ultra white, right wing conservative extremists or something, but it wasn't anything like that. It was people from all backgrounds coming together, sharing their stories, and it was just a really sweet, beautiful day. It was very cold, as you can see by my jacket, but it was really something special.
So here you are. This is you in front of the Lincoln Memorial for Defeat the Mandates. You and maybe a couple other people might be the only artists left that that some people, I don't even know, I don't even want to call them just conservatives, but
Hmm.
people who are questioning mainstream narratives can use anymore. And when they're doing videos, or when they're out and about for campaigns or whatever else, because it
Hmm.
turns out like the big artists like Tom Petty's estate, it's not Tom Petty but his estate, is
Hmm.
not happy right now that Kari Lake, the
Hmm.
candidate, for a former candidate, I don't know, has she conceded yet? I'm not even sure if she's officially
I
conceded.
think she's looking into it. I don't think she's conceded. I think we would have heard about that if she
Yeah.
gave up the fight that quick. But
Yeah. I don't think she
yeah.
has either, and, released a video. She had a video where she used "I Won't Back Down," Tom Petty's song,
Hmm.
and so the estate was notified by probably the Twitterati, and so they tweeted, not too long ago, 15 hours ago, "The Tom Petty estate and our partners were shocked to find out that Tom's song, 'I Won't Back Down,' was stolen and used without permission or a license to promote Kari Lake's failed campaign." And then here's the screenshot. "The Tom Petty estate and our partners were shocked to find out that Tom's song, 'I Won't Back Down,' was stolen and used without permission or a license to promote Kari Lake's failed campaign. This is illegal. We are exploring all of our legal options to stop this unauthorized use and to prohibit future misappropriations of Tom's beloved anthem. Thank you to all of the fans who brought this to our attention and who help us protect his legacy every day." Um, because we're live on YouTube right now, I'm going to be a little bit careful. We can cut the stream and talk more freely if we want to do that. I don't feel like we necessarily need to get into the details of like everything about Carrie's campaign, though I will say she's been tweeting a lot of videos from people who have had issues on election day. So if you're interested in that, go to her Twitter thread. I mean, just from like, you know, long lines and failed technology and that kind of stuff. It looks like a mess from what she's been tweeting. But anyway,
Hmm.
it looks like they took down the video because the link to it, at least when you go to the link that people like uh Billboard were posting in their articles, it now says it doesn't exist. So, I don't
Hmm.
know if they decided to just take it down for fear of legal action. This is not the first time. Like, she's a Trump supporter, and I think Trump's been targeted by many artists over his use of certain songs in his campaign rallies. So I guess, my big question for you as a musician is, what do you think about? I mean, what do you think about all this? It seems like
Yeah.
kind of, for me, maybe it's just because I'm just paying attention. It seems like a new phenomenon for artists to be this concerned about, people who have different political viewpoints using their songs. I don't
Hmm.
know. I could probably find Tom Petty song in a lot of, campaign rallies.
Yeah.
Or some of these, big names,
Hmm.
and whether it's like George Bush or Bill Clinton or whatever. But now, like, we really, we're seeing musicians go after political viewpoints and saying, like, I don't want my music associated with you. What do you think about that? Am I missing? Was that something a long time ago, or am I making this up? Is this a new phenomenon?
Well, I don't. It's been going on a while. It depends who it, what the artist is and who's using it or whatever. I have a relationship with that song because I have a cover of that song that I used, and I made a video of the worldwide rallies that have been going on. That was like one of the second videos I made in between writing these protest songs. Was I had this recording of "I Won't Back Down" that I did. And I thought, oh, that's appropriate. And so I used it. So we'll see if Tom Petty comes after me. But it's just funny because, yeah, it's, I don't know the back end of the story of, how they went around it. Did they really just go ahead and use it? And if they did, it's a courtesy, of course, to be like, hey, can we use this song? But I think that when they know, the artist is probably going to be like, no, you can't because you're Kari Lake. I think what really needs to happen is the right, or really pretty much anybody outside of the left, if you're going to use art and entertainment, start looking for your own people, right? Like, any of the other artists out. What happens in these situations is I'm seeing this. Politician uses some song, left-wing artist says, you can't use it. Then people who are critical of the right or independents say, what's the matter? Don't you have enough Kid Rock songs to choose from? And you get pigeonholed into like, we only have like 5 artists or something that we can choose from. And it's Kid Rock and
Tom McDonald.
Tom McDonald, and but see, even politicians wouldn't use Tom McDonald stuff. You won't see that, but they should. And I've even written Kari Lake numerous times over the last couple of months myself, her campaign, saying, hey, I've got these songs. You're welcome to use them for your campaign. I support what you're doing. So, it's interesting that they keep looking outside of their own circles. We have to sort of move away from the traditional songs and stuff that we're pulling from, because it's going to be the same story every single time. It's going to be that message that you saw from Tom Petty. And if you look at how they worded it, how they describe her campaign as failed, there's digs in there. They're mad and they're angry. They didn't just say, hey, we didn't approve of this. We really would have appreciated it if they reached out. They made a fuss about it, and then they took a dig at it. And it just creates more division, especially when you're in charge of like an artist's legacy like that. What you're doing is driving a wedge in between fans. And you're seeing that a lot with music. You saw it with Neil Young and Spotify last year, driving a wedge saying, look, you can either have Spotify or me. And you saw it with Pink, I think earlier this year, was mad about Roe v. Wade. And she was like, if you're pro-life, then don't listen to me, or whatever. There's a lot of that happening right now. And so it's just very tiresome. And, I don't know what to say about Tom Petty's estate other than, it's hard because do they know Tom Petty? Do they know that Tom Petty would have been like, yeah, I don't want that song on there? Do you really know the artist when they're gone? That's a hard, what the artist's decision would have been when they're not here to speak for themselves. It's easy for the music industry and people who hold those estates, who are in charge of them, for them to blanket, and sort of join on these bandwagons and be like, well, no, we don't support any extremist conservative. We don't want to be associated with that. But, I liked to have thought that Tom Petty would have been one of the guys, that maybe spoke out. I've been so disappointed by so many artists over the last couple of years. The same amount of artists that were speaking out last year is the same amount of artists that were speaking out this year. So I liked to think that Tom Petty would have been like, no, it's music, man. You can use it, some sort of hippie outlook on it. But you've got managers and lawyers and contracts involved in these things, and people that want to make their money on the back end. And so when Kari Lake does something like this, it's going to draw attention. But really, I think that, you've got to start looking for your own, and we've got to start sort of building that other avenue of culture. Really, just leave the old stuff behind and look for the new stuff and start creating that new culture.
Yeah, I guess to me, it's like, where does it end? I mean, it just seems like, if okay, right now it's politics, but
Mhm.
what's the next cultural thing where, if it's like, these kind of people cannot play my music? I know that we're talking about high profile people right now, but what kind of
Mhm.
example does that set for the rest of the public, which is like, basically you have to dissociate from
Mhm.
art, or each other, really, as art, being a form of, enjoyment together with others, right? Like,
Mhm.
then I don't know. It just models, I guess, dissociation from people with different viewpoints, which I just think is like the theme of the last decade. That
Mhm.
I don't know. It just seems like when art becomes the place that you say, these kinds of people can't enjoy this or can't use this. I mean,
Mhm.
what do I know? I've never had anybody, I guess, like, use one of my songs, because I don't have them, because I don't want to,
Mhm.
turn people away from
Yeah.
from being able to hear
Well,
such a
it
terrible
is
voice. You know what I mean?
right.
I don't know. It seems like that would be like the one sacred space where you could still have people that are like, whatever, just,
Mhm. Yeah, it's a
music.
sticky situation because as an artist, I get requests all the time for
Mhm.
my music, and uh, I've turned down things before that didn't really align with what I
I see.
believed in, and that's a fair thing. There's been plenty of times though where I've just sort of given away the music for an event or whatever purpose.
Mhm.
Um, for the sake of just giving it, because to me music is about, you go to a concert, you're standing in a room with however many people, thousands of people at stadiums, and you don't all agree on every single thing in life, but you're standing there singing songs that you guys know together, and that's a beautiful thing. That's what music's supposed to be about. It's supposed to bring everybody together. That's what music is about at its core to me. I've never told anybody, see, I might write songs that people disagree with, but I'll never tell you not to listen to it. And there's plenty of music where that I have in my own collection, that we all have in our own collections, where if we looked at the person's personal life, we wouldn't really agree with it, but we sure do like the song. And the song is what brings us together. So um, yeah, it's there has been a trend of music sort of dividing people now. You saw it a lot in the last year with concerts and vaccine requirements and negative test requirements to go to concerts, whether it was the Foo Fighters or Brandy Carlisle, or there's a whole slew of artists that, that statement not only divides your audience, but it also um, it just tells people that you're in line with the regime. To me, it's you're seeing what's supposed to be the rebellious rock and rollers are joining in the conformity of government control, which is the ironic thing of the last couple years.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing that I think is really interesting, is where artists are falling on, like, not just the line in the sand, but where they're drawing the line in the sand, and like who they're drawing it with. It's like when you have Eric Clapton joining the resistance, and then, Rage Against the Machine demanding like certain requirements for COVID
Mhm,
protocol for their. It's just a really wonky time to, I guess, to be
mhm,
around. And I don't know, as somebody who, I'm not in the art world, but it seems like it's always been kind of a place where you can critique cultural norms or political norms, or but nowadays I think maybe part of it is social media, because who knows if Tom Petty's estate would have done anything if there hadn't been gazillions of people that had come after them saying, did you know this is happening? And then it's like, now you have to respond to it. It's just a whole new world
Yeah.
where the mob can kind of turn behavior because people are afraid to lose their supporters. Then they have to now they have to take a stand. Now they have to be like, no, we're going to let her use it, which is going to then draw more ire, or they do what they did, which is, I mean, I think it's interesting too, like maybe they could have just said, hey, you should stop using it. But I think it's interesting that they're basically threatening legal action. They're saying this is illegal. We're exploring all of our legal options to stop this unauthorized use and to prohibit future misappropriations of Tom's beloved anthem. Thank you to all the fans who brought this to our attention, who helped protect his legacy every day. So, yeah, I mean, they're saying that that's how they found out about it, right? All these people were like, "Did you know this is happening?" And then they have that's just how a lot of decisions are made nowadays.
Yeah, well, they could have taken the approach that Dee Snider took from Twisted Sister, because the song "We're Not Going to Take It," that's used quite a lot by the right. And it's a very popular song, but he posted, which is also another whiny approach, but at least he was like, look, you can still play it. It seemed like that was sort of his thing, but he said, every time my song's played at like a conservative event, I hate it, and I hate you, and you're all disgusting. But and you can say that, if that's what you want to say to that audience, to the people that are enjoying your music. But at least he's not like trying to shut you down from listening to it. At the end of the day, like if my music showed up at an event that I didn't necessarily agree with, at the end of the day, it's still more ears hearing your message, and that's got to count for something. Now, if you want to get mathematical and technical about it, is Kari Lake raising money through her ad, and it is how crucial is that song to her ad and her raising money? So you do have to think about those things, and I try to be fair and non-biased in these situations, but there are at the same time a lot of musicians in the States just getting really whiny and just divisive with it. And it would have been just kind of cool for them to be like, look, we don't agree with it, but Tom's music would have been, it's there for everyone, or something like that. They could have made a different statement, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's interesting. You're right. You could just come out and say, like, I disagree with her entire campaign. I think she lost. I think she should concede. But I guess the way I look at any issue of I wouldn't call this censorship, but any issue where we're like, we want to stop this from being aired somewhere, like this message or this particular, this in this case it's a song, like you're saying, I don't want that there, or you shouldn't have this there for whatever reason, suppressing it, whether you're the one who owns the material or YouTube is shutting it out for you. I guess I always go to sort of like the end game, like where does it end? And so that's why when it comes to the censorship topic, I'm very hard lined on, like, I don't want it, because I think it just starts to creep into like, okay, well, first it's this, and then the next day it's that, and then eventually, like, they try to sell it as extremist, but it's really not. And whoever's in charge at the time, who constantly makes mistakes, they get to decide who has a voice or not. So I guess, but you're right. Like when it comes to an artist's music, I can see what you're saying. When like, okay, if she's making music off of it, I'm really opposed to this particular issue, and I don't want to be used for that. Like, let's just switch it. Say you're a conservative and you produce conservative music, and you're a pro-lifer, and somebody uses your music at an abortion rally, and they're raising money for that. How would you feel? I mean, I can see what you're saying. On the other hand, though, like that's where the really tough decision making comes in, when it comes to like allowing for there to be a free flow of wherever it is, information, or in this case, music, like just letting it be accessible to whoever. I don't know. Is there a way that you could set it up where you're like, I don't know. I was just thinking, like, could you block? Could you say, hey, you can use it, but you can't make money off of it? Would that be something an artist could say? Like, I don't. If you want to use it,
Yeah,
you can, but
right.
you have to prove that you're not making money off of it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's usually my own standard for a license, you know, if they want to use it for free, because I get a lot of requests from organizations or something like that. And it's like, you know, you're welcome to use it for a video or something. And unless it's a good organization that I believe in and they are raising money, I don't mind. I mean, at the end of the day, what we're talking about now is copyright and our ownership of what we create. And there's been a lot of blurred lines with that, with the internet now, because
Mhm.
everybody can take an image and share it. And I've sort of, you know, early on in my career, as we transitioned to, you know, we all went through what was it, like LimeWire back in the day, and Napster, and people were able to start pulling music off the internet without paying for it. And nowadays you can do that with all information, really. You can do it with, you know, anything that you see online. And I was pretty strict about that early on. You know, this is my music. If you take it, then I can't make a living off of it. And
Yeah.
there's a degree to that, but then there's also a degree of, hey, you're getting it out there and it's different now. You know,
Mhm.
I've sort of resigned to that. Like with the songs that I've put out over the last year, a lot of my videos, I say, you know, download it and re-upload it somewhere and share it. And you know, that's part of my battle with censorship and stuff. But at the same time, you know, it pops up somewhere where you know, it's been seen by a couple thousand new people, and I can either get mad that those views were taken away from me, or I could be happy that 1,000 more people have heard it. So, you know, as an artist, as a creator, there's a fine line you have to walk there. It just seems like a lot of mainstream artists in particular are driving that wedge that we were talking about earlier. And that has to be approached differently, I think, moving forward. We either, as you know, a different culture moving forward that doesn't want what the mainstream's giving us. Like, if we actually look at it, we should all just sort of leave the old mainstream behind and start developing a new culture. So we can either do that and start looking for new music to make,
Mhm.
you know, iconic classics. Why did we pick
Yeah.
I Won't Back Down? Well, because it's
Right.
always just been around, and
Yeah.
that was an easy go-to.
Right.
Everybody knows that song, so we don't want to use, you
Right.
know,
Right.
something people don't know. So there's so many avenues to analyze what's fair and what's not fair. But I think that it's just how it's approached. You know, like
Mhm.
I said, their message, Tom Petty's estate, is, you know, we did not give, you know, it's sort of like the internet went, you can't do that, we're telling on you. And then they took, you know, Tom Petty's estate found out, and they had to say, you know, okay, we heard all of the people saying
Mhm.
they can't do that, so now we've got to make our statement. And their statement is, you know, like I said, they put little words in there, like, we did not, you know, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was, you know, we did not approve of Kari Lake's, this use of, in Kari Lake's
Mhm.
failed campaign, you know. And yeah, where is that? So
Prohibit future misappropriations.
misappropriations of a song, you
Yeah, I
know.
mean, I guess that's the word that kind of gets
Right.
me, and I'm a little tired because of my newborn motherhood right now, but that's what gets me. It's like, what is a misappropriation of a song?
Right.
How do you define that, and who? I mean, I guess
Yeah.
in this particular case, there is a creator, so that person, but in this case, he's dead.
Hmm.
So yeah, what does that mean? Like, what's the correct appropriation of it? Like,
Right.
what did he mean when he said, "I won't back down"? If I'm using it when I go out and ride my horse, and
Hmm.
she's refusing to let me get on her, am I misappropriating it if I play the song to
Hmm.
pump myself up to get on her? Like, what did he mean by I don't know.
Hmm.
That's the weird part for
Yeah,
me.
these are the struggles that artists are dealing with now, because art is supposed to be something that you interpret and then apply to your life in the way that you've interpreted it. So what you have happening now is um, usually the left saying, you can't interpret that art that way. You're
Mhm.
misusing it. You can't use that song that way. That's not what he meant. He
Mhm.
didn't mean that she can't back down and she alone can't back down. Like, how many people have used I Won't Back Down in little different projects, homemade videos or whatever it is,
Mhm.
little campaigns over the years that they don't even know about. Were they misappropriating the song? What are the
Yeah.
rules? What are the rules to listening to music now?
Yeah. Yeah, those
In
are good
all
questions.
art. Yeah.
Bill Dozer, who is really Bill Doris, who has a show with me called Tittle Tattle over on Locals, which you guys should go subscribe to. If you're watching this somewhere else, go to AlisonMorrow.locals.com and you can become a supporter over there, or on ROKFIN. If you're a supporter there, you do a ROKFIN subscription, or on Patreon. We do this for supporters only every week. It's a Tittle Tattle show. Anyway, it's media analysis. We have a lot of fun. But he was saying, let me go back to it. If Kari Lake's campaign paid for a license through BMI, ASCAP, or SE, I can't say all these, then
These,
it
yeah,
doesn't matter. ABCs, whatever. That's what my 2-year-old say. It doesn't matter what Tom Petty or his campaign says or camp
right.
says, they can get banned. So what do you think? I
Yeah.
mean, she took it
So,
down, it looks like, so I
so
don't know.
these are performance rights organizations. This is how artists get paid for the use of their songs. I'm on ASCAP. Some artists are on BMI. And CSCAP. So these are the organizations that track the use of your music and how you receive royalties. So if you have a song that's on TV, or let's say I do, at my ASCAP organization will find that usage of the song and make sure it's paid. Usually there's a contract written before then, and I've agreed to the use of it. So yeah, that's absolutely right. If they did, go through an organization and pay for the use of it, then it's fair game. And it really doesn't matter, because I could, if I wanted to, pay to, like I said, I covered that song earlier this year or last year. And I haven't sold it. I haven't done anything with it but give it away. But if I decided to sell it, I would have to go through an organization and get the rights to sell the recording of it, because it's not my song. But there's nothing that their estate could really do about it if I came to an agreement to have use, to use that song. So if they went about it the right way, that's why I said in the beginning, I don't know what happened on the back end. If Kari Lake's, campaign paid to have the rights to use it in that video, then, that's that.
Yeah.
Tom Petty's estate can cry all they want.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, well, I want to talk about a couple other things related to your music in 1 second, but what pairs best with a 5 times August song? A high altitude Malbec. And I think you allow Malbec drinkers to play your songs, right? Publicly while they're drinking. Is that
Well,
okay?
I don't want them to misuse my music with the wine. I don't want them to misappropriate the music with the wine. But yeah, it has to be the
Yeah,
right
like if
wine.
you're a beer drinker and all of a sudden now wine drinkers are having parties where they have people over to try my Malbecs, and then they're playing your songs. They're like, no, that's misappropriating it because
Can't
I'm a
do
beer
that.
drinker. Can't do
Mhm.
that. No. Well, anyway, if you are a wine drinker already and you want to support my work, go to AlisonWinePromo.com, get yourself 50% off some amazing Malbecs from Argentina and 50% off shipping. These are really great wines, and they're actually, they're more costly than what I would normally go out and buy, but you get 50% off the wine. So you have no excuse. If you're already a wine drinker, they go great for the holidays. Great gift idea. If you have loved ones who are Alison Morrow fans, there's a Rogue Malbec, this one on the left. You also get a complimentary bottle of wine too when you sign up for the first time. This is a wine club. You could sign up, or you could just get your one-time order, but you do get 10% off that. The Rogue Malbec is the one that I've got open right now. It's really good. It comes from a sustainable farm. They handpick the grapes. Another one's an extreme altitude Malbec, almost 9,000 feet, and then one that uses natural fermentation. It's all great stuff you can't get at the grocery store. And why would you want to? Because you can go to Alison Wine Promo. If you're a coffee drinker, though, you can go to twinenginecoffee.com/Allison, get some USDA certified organic roast, light roast, dark roast, 10% off your first order. Also, another great idea for the holidays. Easy to ship to people who are coffee drinkers that you love. And it comes with a great story, like supporting my work. You can get the Honey Bear Black Edition is limited right now. But like I said, don't leave out the tea drinkers, because you can get Katura tea, which is tea that you brew with the fruit around the coffee bean. It's very good. It tastes a lot like a black tea. Again, these are also high altitude coffees. They're great. All of them. I've tried all of them. They're all very good. I'm a dark roast drinker, which people tell me means my palate is savage, basically uncouth, but that's okay. I don't care. Apparently you're light or medium roast drinker. That means you really know what coffee is. I don't care. We know after my comments on music that my palate is not necessarily the most astute. Okay, so let's go back to your music then, and then I wanted to ask you about what you're doing, I guess, that you feel like is different than the culture that you just described within music right now. We'll go to your website real fast again, just so everybody knows. They can go to 5timesaugust.com. You've come to prominence during the pandemic and produced a lot of music that has been critical, like Silent War, for instance. I think people can probably read into that. So yeah, tell me a little bit about, I guess, you've described a scene where like artists are drawing lines, and very much so in many cases to support kind of, I guess, the establishment politics or whatever else of the day, meaning like mandates or like you were talking about the Spotify Joe Rogan issue, right? So like anything that questioning vaccines for COVID or whatever else. So why did you decide to take a different path?
Well, I am doing what I thought, what I expected out of the music that I listened to growing up. I mean, at the beginning of when I started releasing these songs, it sort of came out of me. It was sort of like, it's like this scene in my head of like, it's me going, come on, everybody, let's go. We've got to take charge of this situation. And then nobody comes and follows you. And you're like, wait, where is everybody? Where's Bob Dylan? Where's all the protest singers and stuff? So I don't feel like I'm doing anything that wasn't already done in the past. It's just on a different side of the aisle. I feel like a different side of sanity, really. A lot of the songs are just pointing out, they're just holding a mirror back up to what's happening in the world right now, which is what music is supposed to do, specifically protest music. And it's been deemed, controversial by some, but I don't think what I'm saying is controversial. But what pushed me over that line was just the state of the world and everything. And I think what it's got me doing is just sort of create what I'm doing now in my music is creating tools with purpose for people. And that's the main difference between the music I'm creating now than the music I was creating, 10, 15 years ago, early on in my career. I was just a songwriter writing love songs and getting, my little pop tunes and music and TV and stuff. And I didn't feel like I had another option at this point, because I was thinking about my kids. I was thinking about the world. I was wondering where my heroes were. And just one song after another is how this album came to be over the last year. I didn't sit down and go, okay, I've got to write 12 songs about the pandemic. There's months in between each one of those songs. If you listen to the album top to bottom, they're actually in the order that I wrote and released them, because it kind of tells a story throughout the album that way. So, I just am doing what I feel like needs to be done in music. I don't feel like music right now mainstream music is saying anything. It's overly polished, and maybe that makes me sound like an old man, but I feel like people are pining for something that is real and raw and says it how it is. I mean, that's one of the reasons Tom McDonald is so successful, is he started saying stuff that other rappers weren't. And that made people pick up their heads and go, oh my gosh, can he say that? Are you allowed to say that in music anymore? And that's the line we have to keep pushing as artists is, are you allowed to say that? Give the listener something to think about. If you look at what's in the top iTunes charts or Spotify or Amazon, a lot of that music is just kind of voidless. I just call it sex music, because it's just, a lot of it's just, if you listen to songs like WAP, by Cardi B. You know, what is that? And what is that
Mhm.
programming us? Whether you like it or not, music programs us. And, you know, the melody gets in your head and the lyrics are there. Um, and I just think that we need to change the narrative, because what's out there right now, what's on the radio, is just, it's not programming us well. You know, clearly, if you look at the state of things, uh, we're not doing too hot. So maybe maybe we need some new entertainment.
Okay. Well, on that note, I'm gonna go entertain myself with a crying child. Brad, is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
Not really. Just check out the new album, Silent War. It's out now. It's actually doing really well on Amazon and Apple, which is a great thing to see, because it's a testament to the power of the people's voice. I don't have a record label. I don't have a PR machine behind me. It's charting up there next to Taylor Swift and Bruce Springsteen right now. And
Wow.
that's just the people voting with their dollars. So that's the most incredible thing to see, is that this album isn't just about the music. It's about people speaking up, and it's a beautiful thing to see. So
Oh, you
check it
know
out.
what? I totally forgot to ask you my locals questions. Hello. All right, live chat over on locals. I did get a couple of questions for you from
Mhm.
viewers. I know you were working on children's music prior to the pandemic. How do you teach your own kids to value freedom without blackpilling them? Have you written or considered writing any freedom things song for your kids and younger audiences?
Yeah, so I was doing a, kids music project called the Juicebox Jukebox, prior to the pandemic, and that album is out now. That's actually charting right now too. But that's been an incredible project, and I did that album with my family. What actually ended up happening was I was doing kids music, then I became a folksy protest singer. And those two things have actually merged. I'm actually doing a series right now for Ben Carson's American Cornerstone Institute called Star Spangled Adventures, which is a cartoon series that teaches American history. It's a homeschool curriculum, and I write music for that show, little 1 minute songs that our Eagle character sings. And you know, with my kids, at first they didn't really understand what I was doing, because I was focused on kids music, and they were sort of part of my band because we were making that music together. And then I took a break from it, and I started releasing these songs, and I didn't really want them to hear what I was singing about. But they understood by the time I was at Defeat the Mandates and performed and came back. They kind of had the overall idea of what I was doing. We explained to them why Daddy was going and what I was standing up for. And you know, that was one of the greatest things, was coming back from that, because they watched me online. When I came back, it felt like I came back from a space mission or something. They you know, were happy Daddy was home from his adventure, and treated me like a hero or something like that. And it was just very, you know, it just reminded me of why I was speaking up. And it was kind of hard to explain some of those topics to them. Who's Fauci, and why is he bad? You know, why is Joe Biden bad? Why is our president not doing a good job? Those sort of things are tricky to get around, but there's ways.
Okay, your song sounds like Woody Guthrie and Bob Dylan era songs. Were they any I think it's supposed to be inspiration, not
Oh,
inspection.
yeah, you know, they were definitely part of my sound moving into these songs, because they was sort of uh s- kind of a I'm searching for the right word. But they were just sort of tribute like sounds. You know, there's a song called Anti-Fascist Blues, which has a lot of callback to Subterranean Homesick Blues. And that's there purposely, because it's kind of also musically, it's part of the theme of like, where is Bob Dylan? And so that, you know, there is some callback to that sound for sure.
This performance sounds like Dylan. I would like to know his perspective on how to stay creative and inspired while watching the news. I am struggling with the same. I will be going to an open mic tomorrow and I'm trying to come up with a new poem.
Mm. Well, you know, there's plenty of stories in the news. That's the thing, is there's a lot of things to pull from. It just depends. There's a lot of dark things to pull from right now. So it depends what you're after. If you're trying to write something inspirational, then, um, you know, think about the opposite of what's happening in the news and what you're trying to create, and put that out through your art. And yeah, otherwise, just call it like you see it, and find creative ways with your words to describe what you're seeing in the news. And you know, at least if you're calling it out, try to put in a tinge of hope in optimism in the future.
Okay, and I'm gonna send you a link to Empress Nine has a song called Amnesty, or my modern Mengele song about Fauci that got me kicked out of one of my songwriting groups. You can take a listen.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for the support on Locals and the other platforms. Thanks for watching on ROKFIN and Rumble Live as well. Don't forget to be subscribed at least somewhere else besides YouTube, because you know I get kicked off all the time. Brad, thanks again for taking the time to do it, and you know, come back when there's more music drama, which there feels like there is regularly.
Oh yeah, anytime. Sure. Thanks for having me.
All right, bye everybody. Have a great weekend.